What we're doing is we're addressing the second, probably most common objection to becoming a Christian. And that objection is, well, what about all of the evil in the world? You hear that a lot. Why do bad things happen to good people? The fancy $10 word for that is theodicy. And that just means the problem of evil. If God is so good and all-powerful, then why does he allow evil to exist? And that is a question that is just as popular as, hey, there are too many hypocrites in the church, so I'm not going to become a Christian. We have addressed that several times, but this is a different objection for different people. And, you know, the thing about it is, we have all lived long enough to experience a tremendous amount of evil, haven't we? I mean, that's the bad side of living to be old, is every year we experience more evil. Not only personally, you know, what you and I have experienced personally, but learning from others and what they've experienced. I remember nearly 30 years ago, part of my seminary training was to read books on evil, and one of the books that I read, I'll never forget, it was only 100 pages, and it was written by a Jewish man called Elie Wiesel, and it's entitled Night. And I heard that what happened was, he's a Holocaust survivor. He survived the concentration camp. He lost all of his family. And I heard that his original book was supposed to be like 1,000 pages. And what he did was he just started whittling it away and throwing out stories of evil, just getting rid of stories of evil to come up with the few that were the most grotesque, right? And to fit that into 90 pages. Wow. And so, like, when you're reading it, like, right off the bat, like, towards the very beginning, I'll never forget, he said that some Nazis came to a village near where he lived, and they were taking the babies, the infants, out of the mother's arms of Jewish women and literally throwing them in the air and machine gunning them like skeets. I mean, evil, you know, from the pit of hell. And so the objection is, of course, why does God allow that to happen? If he does allow that to happen, which he obviously does, then I'm not signing on to being a Christian. That's what we're trying to deal with during this 10 minutes we have together. That is what we would call moral evil that humans, do against each other. And there's a litany of those things, right? That you turn on the evening news, you watch it on your phone, and you're just child molesters, sex traffickers, rapists. Like, it's just horrendous, right? But then there's a different kind of evil, and that is what has been called natural evil. Not too long ago, acts of God, the insurance companies would call it, you know. Not too long ago, you guys remember this, in Texas, some wonderful Christian parents sent their beautiful daughters to a Christian camp, and they were washed away and killed in a flood. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, like, if that happened to my children or my grandchildren, I don't know what it would do to me. I mean, any of these things, whether it be the moral evil of a rapist or a child molester or the natural evil, I can't tell you for sure that I wouldn't be in a psych ward, you know? And none of us really knows what it would do to us. Like, God forbid it ever happened. But these are the reasons why some people don't become Christians, is because of the problem of evil. And, you know, at this point, I kind of come to a fork in the road. No solution I've ever heard about in seminary or all my years of training completely satisfies me. I mean, none of them satisfy me completely, especially if it were to happen to me. I mean, there are some that make sense, like this is I call it the sin soup analogy, sin soup theology. And what that basically is we take some of Sam's sin, we take some of your sin, Josh, yours, Matt, we take some of mine, we drop it in a bowl of stew and we start mixing it up, and then we take the sin of your grandfather, my grandmother, all of human history on every continent, and we start mixing all of that sin up, and this is the kind of world we have. So I'm responsible to some degree for what happens to you. You're responsible to some degree for what happens to me because it's living in a broken world. I'm responsible for that flood that wiped away those children, you see. And Christianity doesn't just stop there. It provides a way out. So God had a choice. He had a decision to make. Do I just let this continue? These people have made all these choices and have broken my world that I created. Do I just let it keep going like a semi out of control towards a runaway truck ramp? Or do I provide the runaway truck ramp? And he did with Jesus. So one professor used to say, and I love this, I still pray this over and over, Jesus came to die in the world we created for him to die. He chose to come. He chose to come and he chose to die. And he has provided us a way out. It still doesn't just satisfy me completely. Like, I would be a hypocrite if I sat here and said, hey, if all those things happen to my kids, I'm fine. My theology is going to make me rest easy at night. No, it would trouble me. It would probably about kill me. But the thing about it is it's a better solution than any other solution out there. I mean, I like the Christian solution, even though it's not, life is a bunch of flowers. I like this solution of Jesus coming to provide ultimately a way out on the other side of the grave for all of us, as opposed to the Buddhist or the Hindu or the Muslim or the Jehovah's Witness or you see what I'm saying? It is the best of all of the options. I mentioned in the text thread a book that I had I read years ago. It's called Encountering Evil, and it was basically taken from a philosophical standpoint, where you have like the philosophical standpoint of a Christian, the philosophical standpoint of a Hindu, and on. And they had a little bit of like a few pages to defend their position of why evil existed. And so that person would write their little expose or whatever it is, and then the other person from the other camp would rebuttal, and then they would rebuttal. And that was what the whole book was. And through that experience, I realized that, I don't like any of them. Mm-hmm. I wish evil didn't exist. If I were God, I wouldn't allow evil to exist. But there are many reasons why I'm not God, right? And we're grateful for that. And for some reason, he allowed it, right? And of all the options out there, Christianity is the best. Because Jesus came to this world that we created. He was sinless. He came as a baby, 100% human, fully God. He experienced all of the evil we're talking about. He went to hell for us in order to provide ultimate salvation for your loved ones, for mine. And so it is the best of all of the options. And we come to a point where we get to this scripture that Matt's going to read for us. Try to read it pretty loud so that the mic can hear it.
So Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So I think what I was saying is my understanding of it, I still have problems. I can't rest completely. I can't have peace. But I have a fork in the road. Anybody who has this objection, they come to that same fork in the road. You can either not understand and choose to reject God, reject Christ, and still not understand and still not have any peace. Or you can choose to say, hey, I don't like it. I pray it doesn't happen to me or my loved ones, but I'm going to trust in the Lord in spite of not understanding all of this and why it's happening. I think one last thing too, as Christians, we have to be wise in when and how to handle this situation. So right now, there's a little bit of a laboratory, and I shared my sin soup theology, right? But if Matt had just lost one of his children in a flood, would I be talking to him about the sin soup theology? No. If I did that, I'd be like one of Job's friends that was basically giving him reasons for why it was happening when he didn't need reasons. He just needed somebody to be compassionate towards him and to love him. And so as Christians, we need to know when is time to actually knock down the roadblock of evil, and when is the time to just be compassionate and to say, I don't understand either, man. I hurt with you. I'm here with you. I remember when my grandmother died when I was a hospice chaplain. And, I just broke down in tears in this meeting. We're talking about all these people who died, and I just couldn't handle it. All this death and dying. And I'll never forget this nurse. She was, been in hospice for so many decades. She just reached over and put her hand on my back. And she just had her hand on my back. She didn't say anything while I was crying. And that's what I needed at the time. I didn't need an explanation. I didn't need somebody to describe to me what was going on. And as Christians, we kind of have to be like what God is described in the Bible as a motherly father. Isn't that a beautiful description? A motherly father, compassionate father. And we have to know when to have this theology talk like we're having today, and when to just shut up and put our hand on somebody's back. And yeah.